I was kneeling near the deck bar, fixing the leaking tap on my yacht. I had my old toolbox open beside me and a small rag tucked into my pocket. The sun was warm on my back, and I could hear people laughing and chatting upstairs as they arrived for the yacht launch party. Everything was supposed to be perfect, but the pipe had burst just an hour before the guests arrived. No time to call someone. And to be honest, I didn't need to. I've always been good with my hands. Just as I tightened the last screw and wiped off the water from the pipe, I heard heels clicking loudly on the wooden floor behind me. I didn't turn around right away, but I could already guess who it was. That voice came sharp like a blade. Ugh! What is the plumber still doing down here? Paused, then slowly stood up and turned around. Vanessa, my sister-in-law. Red lipstick, designer sunglasses, holding a small gold purse like it was made of diamonds. Her nose wrinkled like she had just stepped on something nasty. The yacht is about to move, she said louder now. Plumbers are not allowed on board. Please leave. She didn't recognize me. I was wearing a simple t-shirt and old jeans, covered in a bit of dust and water. She didn't even look me in the eyes properly. People nearby stopped talking. I could feel their eyes on me. But I didn't say much. I just looked at her and said calmly, "You're absolutely right." I picked up my toolbox, wiped my hands and walked away, up the stairs toward the captain's deck. She watched me go, probably proud of herself for kicking out the plumber. She had no idea that I owned the yacht she was standing on. What happened next? You'll see. But first let me introduce myself. My name is Michael Daniels. I'm 38 years old. I don't talk much. I don't wear shiny clothes. And I'm not the loudest man in the room. In fact, most people ignore me unless they need something fixed. But what people don't know is that I listen. Remember, I work hard in silence. And I never forget the people who laugh at me. Vanessa. She's the queen of people who laughed at me. She is my wife's younger sister. Her name is shiny in every way. Shiny clothes, shiny shoes, shiny opinions about everything. She's always in control of every room she walks into. But not this one. Not this yacht. Because you see, this wasn't just any boat. This was the biggest thing I had ever bought in my life. A 7-bedroom floating mansion. With soft lights, clean wood floors, and even a mini cinema on board. I named it after my wife, Queen Nicole. I bought it for our 10-year wedding anniversary. But I didn't tell anyone it was mine. I registered it under my company's name. I wanted to surprise Nicole. I wanted it to be a moment she'd never forget. A story we'd tell our kids one day. But on the same day I planned the surprise, Vanessa decided to humiliate me. Again. It wasn't the first time. Vanessa never liked me. From the first day Nicole brought me home, she judged me. I still remember her looking at my hands and saying, "So you fix cars for a living?" Like it was a disease. She called me grease monkey during our engagement. Told Nicole she was marrying below her level. But I stayed quiet. Kept my head down. I focused on what I could build. You see, while Vanessa was laughing at my dirty boots, I was learning how to turn every naira I made into 2. I didn't need to prove myself to her. I just needed time. Still, her words stuck with me. Words like hers cut deep, even if you pretend they don't. Sometimes I'd be working under a car, sweat pouring down my face, and I'd hear her voice in my head. "You'll never be more than a mechanic." But I didn't hate her. I didn't even want revenge. Not back then. I just wanted to show her, one day, that she was wrong. And on the day she kicked me off my own yacht, that day finally came. I remember walking up to the captain. He gave me a respectful nod and said, "Ready when you are, Mr. Daniels." I nodded back. But before we sailed, I turned around and looked down at the deck one more time. Vanessa had no idea what was coming. You ever been laughed at by someone who doesn't know your story? Someone who sees your rough hands but not the empire you've been building in silence. That's what this story is about. And I'm going to tell you everything. From the grease on my shirt to the gold on this yacht. When I was little, I used to follow my uncle around his car shop. He fixed old cars, real old ones. He didn't speak much, but he always let me hold the flashlight. I remember the smell of oil, the way he wiped his hands on his jeans, and how the cars always seemed to roar back to life after his touch. That's where I learned to love fixing things. I didn't care if I got dirty. I didn't care if my hands were rough. I liked the way I felt useful. By the time I was 18, I was already working full-time in a mechanic shop. It wasn't fancy. It was noisy, sweaty, and the pay was small. But it was honest work. People brought in their cars, their trucks, sometimes even their bikes. I fixed what I could, learned what I didn't know, and went home tired but proud. That's also where I met Nicole. She came in with a flat tire and a heart-shaped necklace around her neck. I still remember how she smiled when I said, "Give me 20 minutes." I didn't know then that she'd end up being the love of my life. Nicole was kind. Her laugh made people stop and listen. She didn't care that I worked with grease and wore worn-out boots. She saw me, the real me, and she liked me anyway. We started seeing each other. First I was nervous. She was smart, beautiful, and came from a family that wore suits to breakfast. Her dad was a businessman. Her mom wore pearls. Her sister, Vanessa, was already showing off expensive handbags at age 21. Nicole never bragged though. She loved simple things. Music. Cooking with me in my tiny kitchen. She would sit on the floor while I made her noodles, and we'd talk about dreams. I told her I wanted to own my own workshop someday. She believed in me. But not everyone did. When Nicole introduced me to her family, it felt like walking into a cold room. Vanessa looked at me, then looked at Nicole and said, "This is him." Said hello. She didn't say it back. At dinner, she asked me loud enough for everyone to hear, "So, do you plan to fix tires for the rest of your life?" Nicole squeezed my hand under the table. I tried to smile. I told her I was saving to start my own shop. She laughed. "That's cute." After dinner, Nicole apologized over and over. I told her it was okay. But it wasn't. Her words stayed with me like a stone in my shoe. They only got worse. When we got engaged, Vanessa didn't even pretend to be happy. She rolled her eyes at my proposal ring, whispered to someone, "It looks like it came out of a vending machine." She told Nicole not to marry me, said I was a mistake, that I was trying to climb the ladder using her. But Nicole didn't listen to her. We got married anyway. Small wedding, simple food, a DJ who played the wrong songs. But it was perfect for us. After the wedding, Vanessa completely stopped pretending. She barely spoke to me. When we met at family events, she'd call me grease monkey or joke, "Hope you didn't come here straight from under a car." I never fought her back. Never raised my voice. I just smiled. But inside I was boiling. Not with anger. With determination. I decided I would prove her wrong. Not with words. But with results. I started saving more. Learning more. Reading at night after work. Watching videos about business, investments, real estate. I started small, bought and flipped an old generator. Then another one. Then I found a man selling a broken-down bus. I fixed it up, sold it, and made a small profit. Every time I made a little extra, I didn't spend it on clothes or nights out. I reinvested it. I was building something piece by piece. Nicole stood by me the whole time. She was my biggest cheerleader. She even helped me write business emails when I didn't know how to sound professional. Years passed. And slowly, things began to change. My small savings turned into real money. My investments started to grow. I opened my first small business. A garage with my name on it. Michael's Auto Fix. Nothing big, but it was mine. Vanessa didn't know about it. She didn't care to ask. She just kept treating me like I was nothing. A man with oil on his hands. A man who belonged under a car. But she was wrong. Because every dirty job I did was helping me build something clean. Something powerful. And the best part, I didn't need to tell her. One day she would see it for herself. And that day came the moment she kicked me off my own yacht. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back a little. After the garage, I started buying small properties. Fixing them up. Renting them out. I had a friend who taught me how to invest in land. Took risks. Some worked, some didn't. But I never stopped moving forward. Nicole and I stayed grounded. We didn't upgrade our house or buy flashy things. We stayed in our small apartment. Saved every naira we could. And finally I had enough to buy something big. Something bold. Yacht. Not just any yacht, a floating palace. The moment I saw it I knew it was perfect. I wanted to name it Queen Nicole. And I wanted it to be a surprise. That's why I bought it under my company name. Quietly. Carefully. No noise. And I planned the biggest surprise party for her. Of course we had to invite family. Including Vanessa. She didn't know what was waiting for her. She didn't know I was no longer the grease monkey. She didn't know I was the man behind the yacht. But she was about to find out. So there I was, standing on my own yacht, wearing old jeans and a stained t-shirt, fixing a dripping tap on the lower deck. I didn't want anyone to panic or slip. Just a quiet fix. Then I'd rush upstairs, change and surprise Nicole. But that's when I heard her voice. Why is the plumber still here? Vanessa. Her heels clicked across the deck like tiny hammers. Her perfume filled the air before she even arrived. Something sharp and expensive like her tone. I didn't even look up. I just kept twisting the pipe. This is a private event, she said loudly. The yacht is about to move. Plumbers aren't allowed here. You need to leave. Pause. Not because I was angry. Well, I'd heard her insults 1,000 times before. She used to call me garage boy when I dated Nicole. Grease monkey, engine head, Mr. Rust. But today was different. Today, this yacht was mine. I stood up slowly, wiped the sweat off my forehead, and turned toward her. Ma'am, I said calmly, you're absolutely right. She gave a small, victorious smile. I picked up my toolbox, gave a small nod, and walked away. Past the curious eyes of 2 guests who had overheard. Past the bartender who looked shocked. And straight up the spiral staircase, toward the captain's deck. Vanessa thought I was leaving the yacht. But no, I was headed to the one place she'd never expect. The control center. The captain stood tall, waiting. Sir, he said, all guests are on board. Ready to launch. I smiled and gave a small bow. Let's take her out. He turned a key. The engine purred to life beneath us, and the Queen Nicole began to move. Slow, smooth, and graceful like a ballerina on water. I could already hear the champagne corks popping on the main deck. Guests clap. Someone played soft jazz through the speakers. The yacht glided into open water. I stayed up there for a while, watching, thinking. This yacht wasn't just a gift. It was a symbol. Full circle moment. Vanessa once laughed when I couldn't afford Uber rides. Now she was sailing on a 500 million naira yacht, paid for by the man she used to insult. Felt good. But I didn't want revenge. I wanted to make a point, without shouting, without rubbing it in. I wanted to show her, and everyone like her, that the people you look down on might be sitting higher than you, quietly. When I finally came down, I had changed. Navy blazer, crisp shirt, and loafers. I looked nothing like the man she saw earlier. And yet, I was the same man. The crowd was gathered around the gold-trimmed bar on the main deck. Vanessa was already holding a glass of wine, whispering to a group of women in tight dresses and fake laughter. She's lucky, one of them said, pointing at Nicole. This yacht is insane. Vanessa flipped her hair. Yeah, but I think it belongs to one of her husband's clients. No way Michael could ever afford this. He fixes cars, remember? They laughed. A little too loudly. I stood behind them for a moment, sipping water. Then I heard the mic squeak. The host, a young event planner Nicole hired, stood by the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced. We're about to begin our official toast. But first, let's meet the man behind all of this. The one who made the Queen Nicole possible. Everyone leaned in. Please welcome Mr. Michael Daniels, the proud owner of this yacht. The crowd turned. I scanned the deck. Vanessa's glass slipped a little. She looked left, then right. Her face froze when she saw me walk past her. I stepped onto the mini stage, took the mic, smiled. Hello everyone. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. Polite claps. Nicole's face lit up like a child seeing fireworks. This yacht is named after my wife Nicole. It's a little gift to celebrate our 10 years together. And yes, I turned slowly toward Vanessa, I also fixed the tap downstairs just before launch. So if anything breaks again, feel free to call your plumber. Few people chuckled. One woman gasped. Vanessa blinked hard, her mouth parted slightly. I handed the mic back, walked straight to Nicole, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "Happy anniversary." Nicole whispered back, "You're full of surprises." I just smiled. That's the thing about quiet people. We don't need to scream to be heard. We let life do the talking. And today, life had said plenty. Everyone was now gathered on the upper deck, drinks in hand, laughter in the air, the soft hum of music blending with the sound of waves. Vanessa was in her full element, loud, flashy, overly confident. She was boasting about her designer shoes, the price of her dress, and even correcting people's pronunciation of foreign dishes. It was typical Vanessa, center of attention, making sure everyone knew how high class she was. She hadn't spotted me since I left the deck earlier. I was now in a fresh white linen shirt, tailored slacks and loafers. Clean, crisp, looking nothing like the plumber she had tried to dismiss. Then the event planner clinked her glass. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please? Before we set sail, we'd love to welcome the man who made all of this possible. Mr. Michael Daniels, the owner of the Queen Nicole." Silence. All heads turned. Vanessa blinked rapidly. "Owner," she whispered, confused. Then louder to no one in particular. "Wait, Michael." I stepped forward slowly, smiling. "Yes, Vanessa," I said calmly, locking eyes with her. "Turns out the plumber owns the yacht." Few chuckles. Some people clapped. Vanessa's mouth was still hanging slightly open. I turned to the guests and continued. "This yacht is named after my wife Nicole. I bought it to celebrate 10 beautiful years of love, growth, and resilience. A reminder that real wealth isn't just in money. It's in how you treat people when you think they have none." The crowd erupted in applause. Vanessa tried to join in, her cheeks bright red. But the damage was done. The look on her face, priceless. She didn't say a word to me the entire trip. But every time someone called me boss or sir, I could feel her shrinking a little more inside. And honestly, I didn't need to rub it in. My presence, and the truth, was loud enough. The yacht glided smoothly across the water, but the tension between Vanessa and reality was anything but calm. Throughout the cruise she avoided my eyes, whispering to her husband, my brother Kevin, who looked more and more embarrassed by the second. I greeted other guests, smiled for photos, and toasted with business partners. But deep down I was still processing everything. This wasn't just about being called a plumber. It was about how Vanessa treated people she thought were beneath her. How quickly she forgot that kindness costs nothing, and arrogance, everything. As the sun began to set, the staff brought out a surprise cake. The guests clapped as Nicole, my wife, stood beside me. "To Michael," the host said, "for showing us that real class isn't in money or clothes, but in humility and character." Vanessa clapped a little too hard, probably hoping no one noticed how fake it was. But the final moment of poetic justice came as we docked. Vanessa tried to approach me with a forced laugh. "Michael, I had no idea. You look different now. You should have said something." I smiled, calm and cool. "Vanessa, I didn't need to. I wasn't the one trying to impress anyone. I was just fixing something broken, like I've always done." Then I leaned in slightly and added, "By the way, I had cameras recording everything for a campaign we're running on how people treat service workers. You'll probably see yourself in a few ad clips soon." Her face dropped. She gasped. "Wait, what? You recorded me? You can't." I walked past her and patted Kevin's shoulder. "You married her, bro. Not me. Good luck." As I stepped off my own yacht, cameras caught the sun glinting off the water behind me, while Vanessa stood frozen, humiliated and exposed. Justice wasn't just served. It was sailed in.